Yeah.
All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. As I've been saying sort of on recent episodes, it's always cool to have new people on the show. And I've been definitely reaching out and expanding my horizons a little bit in terms of local music since the pandemic started. But I've also had an opportunity to sort of reconnect with people who've been on the shows in past years and are, you know, because of the pandemic or not, are doing new things and are taking new directions with their music and their work. So I think the guest on this episode qualifies in that latter category. You've been on a couple of times and you have a lot of new things I think that we're going to talk about today. So I think the best way to start this off is if you want to just introduce yourself and give a bit of background about what it is that you do.
Sure. I'm Violet Vopni, and I'm a singer-songwriter, Indigenous and Icelandic, and yeah, I do pop, folk, jazz, roots, blues, a little bit of rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I'm just sort of multi-genre. I write music. I write songs, and that's pretty much me.
that's a good way to explain it. I write songs.
I write
um,
songs.
I think that maybe the good starting point here is, as I understand it, you're using your own name now for your projects because you've gone through
Yeah.
various kind of iterations of what you do and the names you're performing under. But what can you tell me about that? Because that's fairly recent, right?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I started at the worst time. I started in 2019, like at the end of 2019, and then I was lucky enough to get an album going, and then we talked, and I was really happy about that. And right after I put that album out, the whole world shut down,
Sure.
and I was like, oh no, I broke the world with my music. Oh no. But I had also waited 20 years to put anything out, so that was also a huge consideration. Um, so I was going under the name 19 at that point. And then as soon as I put everything out, other people were named 19. There were other like new bands named 19 that also came out, and I went, oh, okay. Okay, I gotta figure this out. And then
Yeah.
we had all this time being shut down, there was nothing going on, so I was like, okay, well, I'll come up with a band name. And then me and Clinton, who was part of 19, he was like, we were a duo, we were just an acoustic duo at that point.
Right.
Me and him worked on a name, we came up with the Keen and the Kind, and I said, that's a cool name, let's do that. So then we were the Keen and the Kind. And then in 2020, so short, like the first time we opened up in the summer,
Yeah, there was that brief period
after
where we
that,
could do stuff.
there was
Yeah,
that weird like first wave, and then we opened. It all just sort of blurs together now because
it
it's
does.
just
Time no
so
longer
odd.
exists. Yeah.
Time doesn't exist anymore. But after that first one, we ended up adding a percussionist, Kevin Cote, because everybody was like, your songs are really good, but you need like percussion. And I was like, I don't want a drummer. I don't think they're gonna be excited about this music. I think they're gonna be like, I'll play some brushes. What
Right.
else am I doing? Right? I'm like, I know drummers in this city and they like hard music and they really want to go full out, and I don't have anything that's super full out. So I don't know. Maybe we'll just try a percussionist.
Yeah.
So I'd met Kevin at a Stacey James show, and I asked her after the show. I said, "So, is your is he monogamous? Does he play with other Does he play with other people? Is it okay if I steal him?" She's like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. He plays with a bunch of different people. It's all good." I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool. I'll ask him." And then sure enough, he just gelled with us, and c'est la vie. We were in the studio by October, and we redid all of the songs that were on the acoustic album. So we redid them with percussion and
Yeah.
solos because we had missed doing that. And then we did 10 new songs. So we had 18 songs on this album, and we released that in 2021.
So still
And
during the pandemic time. I mean, all of this is
yeah,
happening.
all during the pandemic time. But we had to have some sort of like cutoff. So I think it was like July of 2020, we had the cutoff of like, okay, it's gonna be these 18 songs on this next album. And then anything I wrote after that had to go on the upcoming album.
Sure.
Actually. Yeah. So yeah, it's been fun to have to wait. That's been it. I'm sometimes very prolific and I'm not good at waiting.
Yeah.
So yeah, the waiting was how that worked out. So yeah, we went to the studio, did the songs. At that point, we had kind of picked up on a couple of other musicians to sort of help us out with harmonies and harmonica, things like that, and just little extra stuff. And then in 2021, we also got a bassist for a
Cool.
bit. He was just sort of like bored and wanted something to do. and friends with Clinton. So he was like, sure, I'll come down and play bass. And so he did that. And then, yeah, end of summer 2021, Clinton and Adam both moved on to new projects. So yeah. And then I was like, oh no, I guess that's it. I guess the band is, and I was like, I don't know, are we gonna record the songs that we were working on, or how
Yeah.
are, so there was just this huge, ambiguous uncertainty. And I don't know, I found a new guitarist during that time and started working with him. And Kevin was very much like, I still want to do percussion. I still want to do the thing. This is the music you're writing is too good not to put it out there. So like, I'm still in. I'm like, okay, cool.
Cool.
Yay. And yeah, so we found a new guitarist and rebuilt the band, and yeah.
And now you're
then
going
Clinton,
under your own name though, right? Like the band, the Keen and the
well,
Kind name
yeah,
is gone.
that was actually a very recent change.
Right.
Because now that I've got shows coming up with the new band members, I feel weird calling it the Keen and the Kind. Like Clinton's not involved, Adam's not involved. Like it's just not the same
Sure.
anymore. And the songs have always been my songs. It's always been my lyrics and melodies, my concepts for my life stories, essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, well, without the original band peoples, it doesn't feel the same. So
Was there a reason? Sorry, what I was gonna say, was there a reason that you didn't kind of go with your name in the first place? Did you feel weird about kind of putting your name out as the name of the project? Like, did you prefer the idea of having a band title?
Yeah, originally I preferred the idea of having a band title when I thought me and Clinton were gonna be this like folky, jazzy duo.
Yeah, which you were on the first record.
I was on the first record. It was a lot more folky, a lot more jazz. And I thought, the Keen and the Kind is a great name because you've got like others out there, Two Crows for Comfort, a lot of the Small Glories, like it's kind of in the same sort of, vibe as that. And I thought, yeah, if we were going to continue being a folk duo, sure, that works out really well. And then I wrote a whole bunch of pop music and like fell super in love with it. And yeah, pop stars are just their names.
Right, that's true. It is, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all of them. There are very, very, very few pop bands, unless they're pop cover bands. So I was like, oh, well, I love this pop music. I was like, fuck it, I love this music. Oh my gosh, these songs that I'm writing now are just so awesome. And yeah, I was like, well, fuck it, I guess I am me.
Cool. Well, I have a question kind of about the songs then, because I mean, I know that when you put out the first record, those were songs you'd written over literally decades, right? This was like a hugely long time coming. So what has shifted, I guess, with you in terms of now being able to just kind of churn out the music in a much faster pace, a way faster pace, because that first one took so long to actually kind of be created?
The first one, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I was consistently writing songs all throughout my teenage years, like consistently. And then I got married, and my first husband was not a musician and not into music.
Right.
And I had no time really. So here and there I would write a song, but I was also raising kids and doing the family thing and, doing other things in life. So it just didn't come up. And then, that relationship ended, and I was like, hey, I want to do music again. And I'm like, hey, I have all these songs from like the early 2000s that I wrote. And so we just dug those up and started with those because they were the back catalog essentially. And then, I don't know, inspiration. It's almost like riding a bike. Like once you've learned how to do that skill, and especially when you've learned it as a teenager, it comes back so much faster. And I was like, oh, well, here's a new song. Here's another new song. I remember the first couple of jams that Kevin showed up to, and I remember the power went out at my house. So he's setting up on the porch, and he's setting up all his stuff. And I said to him, oh, me and Clinton wrote a new song. And he goes, oh, like in the last week since I've been here? And I'm like, no, in the last 15 minutes. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. It's actually our most popular song on Spotify now.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It was Joseph. So
okay, yeah. That was the single from the previous. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the single from The Things We Don't Know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, I mean, you would know this more than anyone, I think, is how have you changed as a songwriter? How have you seen your songs change in that time? Obviously, all of us have done things when we're teenagers that maybe don't hold up even a few years later, let alone a number of years later. And so, I mean, how have you seen your songwriting mature, I guess, and improve since those early songs? I mean, obviously you still like them because you took the time to record them and then re-record them, you know, and there's a connection to them for sure for you. But you
Hmm.
know, how does 2022 you sort of see those songs now and see the songs you're working on today and compare them?
Um, See, for me, I don't see a whole lot of personally, I don't see a whole lot of differences between them. Like I'm still like, yeah, Twisted is a nice pop song. Friend Zone is a single that's coming out that
Okay.
is an awesome pop song. So I do see like a growth that's happened with it. Like I've grown with the times, you know?
Sure, sure.
Twisted was a great pop song for 2002. It really was. Didn't come out in 2002, but hey,
Right, right.
it's not my fault. Um, I guess it is a little bit my fault, but
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
maybe a little bit. Um, but then Friend Zone is just a great tune for 2022.
Sure.
So that's just sort of what I see. My bandmates, on the other hand, and my guitarist, on the other hand, is like, wow, structure, song structure. Like apparently I've just magically gotten a lot better at structuring songs properly the way they're supposed to be and
Just
not
from
just
trial and
being
error, I guess, right? From
all
repeatedly
over the
writing
place.
songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's different when you're just writing lyrics and melody for yourself and you're singing things, and so you're not going to take pauses because singing a cappella is a little bit different. You don't want a huge pause in
Sure.
between things because people get bored and then they think the song's over.
It's true, yeah.
Like if you're not consistently singing a cappella, people are like, "Oh, the song is
Oh, we
done.
clap now.
Clap,
Yeah.
clap, oh, clap now!" And then you're like, "No, I'm still singing." But yeah, so once you start working with a guitarist who can write to all of that, then you're like, "Oh yeah, the pause goes here. Oh yeah, this happens here," and then it just sort of I don't know. It's just education by fire, I guess, is how it goes. Education by experience just
Yeah.
happens. And so I've gotten better at, writing the sections out and now like knowing where the pauses are gonna be and then still being a renegade and doing cool things that I want to do. And yeah, making my bandmates like work really hard. I didn't know how hard my music was until my bandmates told me it was really hard. I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." And apparently everything that Clinton wrote was like crazy jazz chords that even the new guitarist was like, "Okay, I'm just going to go meet with him so he can teach me what he did." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. That sounds good. He did something hard?" And he goes, "Yeah, really, I'm saying bad words a lot." So,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't
So
know how I
when
feel about this. Like on the one hand, I'm like, "Oh no, the songs are too hard to learn." And then on the other hand, I'm like, "Yeah, songs are too hard to learn." That's right. It's not just four chord pop or, you know,
right. And is the new stuff
chords.
much simpler because it's in the pop direction? Like, or is it still
No.
very complicated?
No. Still no. It's easier to learn than the old stuff because the songs don't do a thing where you get bars that are supposed to be like 4 beats in a bar or 6 depending on, what your timestamp is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I have a song where it is 6 3/4 and then it changes. It changes on the last thing. Songs aren't supposed to do that. I didn't know that when I was 11 and I wrote
Sure,
that
sure.
song. So, yeah, so it's 6.75 and they had to figure that out. And then remember, it was hard.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I guess how have your songs changed as far as lyrics? Because I mean, I remember with your earlier stuff too. It was very personal. It was very serious topics you were talking about. And I mean, pop music. Maybe this is an unfair stereotype, but it's usually seen as something that is not that heavy, I guess, in terms of the subject matter and what you're talking about. So, did you have to shift a bit from going with this kind of confessional first person experiences to something maybe a little lighter because they're pop songs, or are you keeping that kind of
Oh,
format
that
of
is
writing.
still happening.
Yeah.
And that happens to me organically, which is awesome. So I wrote a song that's a follow-up of Joseph.
Okay.
So Joseph was my great grandfather, and I wrote about his story. And then I heard from the family a story about my great aunt Doris, who I didn't even know existed.
Okay.
Just nobody in the family wanted to talk about her up until I did some genealogy research and connected with second cousins and whatnot. And then they were telling me about her, so I wrote a follow-up song, and that song ends up being a song about domestic violence, because that's what happened to Doris. She went down to Arizona, technically Texas, actually. I learned that afterwards. Somebody said Arizona, and then somebody else said Texas, and the song turned out to be called Arizona. Just worked out better that way. And yeah, and she ended up being in an abusive relationship, so just ended up being about that. And I was like, well, I wasn't trying to go there, but it happened, because that's the story, right?
So how do you make that a pop song then? Because pop is so upbeat as a genre.
It's still upbeat. It's still upbeat. And I think the thing that's going to happen is people are going to be like, wow, yeah, I'm bopping along to this song. Whoa, lyrics.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. And it is what it is. Some people listen for lyrics, and a lot of people listen for the instrumental. And sometimes it takes people a while to get around to really listening to what the lyrics mean. They don't usually get there upon first or second listen.
Sure, it depends who it is, I guess, obviously, right? But
it does.
yes,
It depends on who it is. Yeah.
Someone going to see a pop show is not going to assume that there's that kind of depth to pop lyrics, right? Which is kind of a cool way of making people think about it, in that they've listened to the song over and over again, and then wait a minute, what? Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, and if you want to get really technical about it, we could talk about Honey by Mariah Carey.
Right.
Honey is a pop song. We've all listened to Honey many, many times, probably at our age. You know, you've heard that song so many times.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was probably like 35 when I realized what honey meant.
I don't think I've ever thought about it.
Wow, okay. It's like honey when it washes over me. You know, sugar never ever tasted so sweet.
Right. Which is,
I could go, yeah. I just want another taste of your honey. Yeah, okay. Yeah, now I know what that song's about.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Mariah Carey. We all thought that was a happy pop song.
Yeah.
Hey, that was not about honey. Yeah. So, you know, I find pop songs do that a lot. They will mask things, and we're all bopping along to it. And a lot of times they mask sex.
No, totally. Yeah.
They totally just do that. And I've actually stayed away from that, surprisingly enough. Friend Zone is a song about asking people if they're cool with just being friends when they're all flirting with me inappropriately.
Right.
That's the thing. I went to a party, people flirted inappropriately, and I was like, hey, are you guys just cool with the friend zone? Because that's what it is.
Right.
That's what's gonna happen. And then people are bopping along to it, and they think it's a fun, cool song, and so I'm happy for that.
Does the shift to, I mean, obviously, like you said, the lyrics are staying on the same kind of topics, but the shift to pop sonically, does that sort of change the overall trajectory of the band, of where you're hoping to play, the kind of shows you're hoping to play, maybe even the audiences you're hoping to play to? Is that all sort of
definitely? Yeah, that has definitely also changed quite a bit. So, you know, when we originally started, I was thinking, okay, you know, low-key venues, you know, low-key whatever, you know. And now it's like, we could probably do 3 sets at the bar at some point, you know, and we could keep the crowd going. And at the same time, yes, there is sort of this like interesting dynamic in Winnipeg where there's a lot of bars that just want cover bands for 3 sets for a night, and there you go. And I'm like, well, we could do 3 sets of original music that everybody would still dance to, that everybody would love dancing to, and it would all just be original stuff. And then we could throw in a couple of covers in between that would make people happy. And we could probably get away with doing that.
Yeah.
Without getting the stigma of, oh, but it's cover. Oh, but it's not a cover band. It's like, yeah, well.
Well, there seems to be a weird alternate universe for cover bands too, where like they I've never wanted to ever go see a cover band. Not there's anything wrong with people who do, but it's just, to me, the idea of seeing a cover band sounds horrible. I just don't like the idea of, like, when there's original music to choose from, like, why would you pick a band playing bad versions of stuff that's already on the radio, you know? And so, but there's this whole ecosystem of cover bands that I didn't really know about until recently, where they make a ton of money. Some of them, like, they're it's a very successful kind of business route to take as a
It is
musician.
like, well, as a musician, yeah, it really is. And especially in Winnipeg, because you will get the bars that, if you can put together 3 sets for a night, they're paying. And then
Sure.
you can book different bars once or twice a month, and there's money for your band every
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Right? Bars are paying for that kind of thing to go on. And yeah, I'm not saying you could probably make like a huge living off of it, but I mean, you can still get a decent side cash out of it.
You could have a regular gig going on that wouldn't require too much in the way of you wouldn't have to tour. You could play the same Winnipeg shows, week after week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do your new songs? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, yeah, I haven't really wanted to like super infiltrate that. I'm more looking at like, I will play festivals. I will play, I'll do like single release parties and album release parties. Like, I'm not like super willing to step on the toes of that market yet.
Sure.
One of these days, though, it's gonna happen.
You're coming for them. I was gonna ask, are your songs now, the new stuff with the current band, is it backwards compatible? Like, can you take this band that you have now and play a stripped down acoustic set as well, or does this sort of lead it? Yeah, it still works. You can have a foot in the folk world still, and also be doing the pop stuff.
Oh, I still have folk songs on this album, and I even have, there's a tune that's a little bit melancholy, a little bit jazzy.
Okay.
And it's yeah. So it's still, even though there's more pop songs on this album than the last one, there's still folk and jazz influences in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That stuff, I guess, you're not going to lose, even if you switch. It's what you've been doing for years now. So yeah, it makes sense.
What I do, and I think every album is going to try to be that eclectic mix of folk and pop music, essentially.
Sure.
So wherever I go with it, there might be a rock single thrown in there somewhere.
Do you have a timeline for when this album's expected to be put out?
We're hoping January 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
How far along are you already on putting it together?
It's almost done.
Oh, really? Okay, that's good.
It's with Ryan McVeigh right now, so he's finishing the mixing and mastering, and then it's just up to the new band members to learn to play the songs.
Sure.
So I won't actually release it until we can have a proper album release party and then play it live for everybody, because dropping an album that you can't play live, I don't think that's a good plan.
Probably not. No,
not a good business strategy. So we have to wait. But I'm seeing so much I'm seeing so much progress with the current band members. They are just so awesome, and they learned Friend Zone already.
Cool.
We're releasing that as a single in June, and then doing the single release party at Tap House.
Okay.
Osborne Tap House.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm impressed that, we can already play that song.
Yeah. Well, waiting almost isn't a bad idea too, especially because of the way things are going with the pandemic, in that like shows are happening now, which is awesome, but it's still very slow and people are hesitant, and hopefully by January, things are back to some kind of normal, and it won't be so weird to be putting on a show, and you can get the venue you want with a full capacity crowd and everything. Hopefully, right?
Yeah, and I mean, things, I wouldn't say people are that hesitant. I go out a lot. I've been at the King's Head and it was nuts. I've been at the Riverside and there was a 50th birthday party going on and there was nowhere to sit. I was like, okay, cool. I've been at Shannon's after a Jets game, or just on a Tuesday. Shannon's on a Tuesday is crazy. Any day of the week. They've got tons of people in there. So
people have moved on. I think a lot of people have definitely moved on.
People have definitely moved on. And if they want to go to a show or they want to go to the bar and dance, they are finding it and going. So
cool.
Yeah, people are filling venues up now. Yeah.
What's the I mean, I know this isn't out yet. The single's not coming out till June. There's still a bit of a wait between obviously when we're recording this and when the record's coming out. But if
Hmm.
someone, is listening to this podcast and they want to hear more about what you've done, hear some of your past stuff, you got those two records out. What's the best way to find you online and to hear the music online?
Spotify. Yeah.
Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah. And you could just look up my name on Spotify. Spotify was so fast about changing that.
Oh, cool. I was
They
going
were
to ask that.
so
Yeah, is it, yeah.
They were so good about changing it. And I thought it was funny because I'd done the 2 different band names. And then when I went into DistroKid to update it, they let me update it. And I thought, I wonder how Spotify is going to deal with this. You know how they dealt with it? They made me 2 Violet Vopni profiles. And I had to contact their support people and be like, hey, if bad news for you, there should only be 1.
Yeah.
Just saying. And they were like, yeah, no, you're right. There should only, okay, so we'll fix that.
So all that old stuff is now under Violet Vopni on Spotify?
All of it is in one place now, and it makes me so happy because I was so sad that the acoustic album kind of got lost on Spotify somewhere innocuous.
Yeah.
And then it was during the time when I don't think DistroKid was really offering a lot of ability to edit releases. So I didn't know that that was a thing. And then I came across an article a couple weeks ago that said, you can actually update stuff. Oh, I said, what? I can?
That's
Oh,
cool.
I thought I was stuck with this. I thought I was going to be like the Foo Fighters forever. And hey, I wasn't. So, yeah.
Because that's got to be tricky to have, 3 different names for the same stuff, essentially, right? I mean, it's just different iterations of the band, but yeah.
At least I was really smart with all the Keen and the Kind releases because all I did was put the name of the single or the name of the album on the cover. I never put the name of the band. I never did that. It's on the spine of it's on the tiny little spine of the actual CD that you can buy. But it's such tiny writing. You can't really see it. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, that's good. If you ever decide to reissue them too, if there's ever a surge of popularity in those old ones, you have the cover, you can just kind of reprint it. You're good to go.
I can reprint. Yeah, exactly. I can reprint it. I can just tell Dan at Ironstone Technologies to just don't put that on the spine.
Yeah, cool. And then the good thing about this being a podcast too is someone could hear this, when we put it out, and they could also hear it a year from now. What's the best way to kind of keep in touch with what you're doing as far as upcoming shows? Maybe when the record's coming out, where can people find you online to see announcements about that or announcements about shows?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm currently really mad at Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Facebook we're not friends anymore. I'm not friends with Facebook anymore. Well, everywhere else, Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, DistroKid submitted all the artist changes beautifully. Instagram was instant. I could just go in there and change all my stuff, and it was like, bam, here it is. Facebook pages. So I have the new page experience for the Keen and the Kind. And then I went in, and I've done it 3 times now, where I've tried to edit the name, and it says, put in your password. And then we'll review it and get back to you in 3 days. That was fucking 10 days ago. I want to kill them.
And there's no one you can call, right? Because it's Facebook.
No, so you can't call anybody. I sent in a thing, like I found the help and support thing, and I sent in like just a grievance about it today. Mostly just me bitching about how they need to change that feature. If they're going to own Instagram and let people change their shit on Instagram, just let us do it on Facebook too. Why did you need to review it? And also, why are you ignoring reviewing it? Because I've now submitted it 3 times and you're still ignoring it. I'm so upset.
But you have a new page though, right? Under your
I made a new page.
Yeah,
okay, so
I saw that. I liked it today.
Yeah. So today I was like, okay, can't do it this way. Wait, I have another idea. So Facebook has a merge pages thing. So I thought, okay, I'll make a new page and I'll call it what I want it. And then I will merge the 2. You know what they don't let you do on Facebook is merge classic pages with new pages. And the new page that I made today is a classic page. And then the Keen and the Kind is a new page. And so they won't let me merge it. I'm like, this is why we're not friends anymore. This is why. I couldn't do anything to do. So I'm just waiting. I'm just like, well, okay.
But until anything happens, people should go to the Violet Vopni page and follow you there.
Yes. Yeah, follow me on, well, technically follow me on either of the pages. Oddly enough, it didn't let me change the name of the page, but it let me change the slug. It let me change the URL. And then it let me put in a nickname, which is Violet Vopni. So let me put a nickname up there. I was like, you know what? Facebook, please get your shit together. This is ridiculous. So, yeah. But I mean, I think we all have our grievances about Facebook, to be honest.
Sure.
All of us are like, why? Why isn't this working? Why did...
But we keep
I
using
love
it anyway.
all the people who are like, wow, I got put in Facebook jail for something dumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
I always laugh at my friends about that.
I've never been put in Facebook jail. I always see people complaining about it, but I guess I'm towing the line, I guess, of saying things that are offensive to them or not. But I don't know. One day it'll happen.
I toe the line too. I've never been reported. Nobody's ever like just randomly reported a post of mine. I try to be politically correct, but still share funny memes every now and again.
Yeah.
But not too politically incorrect, like not too political, because that's usually where people get it.
It is, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's always the politics.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess hopefully you will keep your page politics free, and then you can just put the music stuff on there, and then you'll be fine once they change your name. And
yeah, once they change the name, I can just put the music events and things like that up there, and I won't have to worry too much about it.
Cool.
It's just the waiting game in between that's like really painful.
No doubt, I believe it.